everyone, Amanda Saladin from Love Life Yarn, and here we are in day 6 of the Better Baby Blankets workshop. So yesterday we looked at counting stitches, and I hope that cleared up with some things if you aren't quite sure how to count your stitches. And so today we're going to look at how to count rows. I often find it more difficult sometimes to count how many rows I have than how many stitches I have. So we're going to look at some common things to keep in mind when counting rows.
Okay, and here we are at the workbook page on counting rows, and some helpful tips to count rows is to start from the bottom, number 1. I always find it easier to start at the bottom and work our way up. Don't count the beginning chain, so that very bottom, like down here, unless you worked foundation stitches. Number 2, look for the dashes. Okay, you can see I drew them here, drew them in. You can see right here as well. In our single crochet example. Okay, look for those. You'll see these when you're going back and forth in rows every other row. So here's a row, and then 2 rows later you see them again. And that's going to help. If you're working in the round, you'll see them every row, and that can help. Another thing is to use the tail to help. If you worked into the chain, the tail is at the left for odd rows and the right for even rows. But if you work the foundation stitches, it'll be on the opposite side. So for this one, when you chain, an odd row heads this way, towards this little tail, and an even row will be heading away from it, so the tail will be at the beginning of the row. Okay, and then look for the holes. Every row of stitches will have some type of small hole in it, which can be helpful for counting rows. So the hole will be like right here in a double crochet, and then you'd see another one right here, and then right here, and so you would look for the holes that can help you out. Okay, so one of the things that's good to do that I mentioned before is to get out some yarn and just practice, because then you know exactly how many stitches and rows you have. And I also have some more exercises with pictures for how to count stitches and rows in the workbook if you pick that up. Okay, so let's look at the same swatches that we used in yesterday's lesson for our row counting exercises. First, we'll look at this seed stitch swatch because it's really easy to see the rows in this one because the V's stagger every other row. So I started out with just a row of single crochet. So here's the first row. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So that one's easy enough. A lot of times when I'm counting it during a project, I'll just do the diagonal and count them up that way. When I get too close to the end, I start going this way. So when I made a sweater out of this yarn in this stitch pattern, and when I had to count, if I lost count, I would just go across and then go up and turn whenever I needed to. So single crochets are very small and compact. And in a regular swatch, you'd see this every other row. Okay, let's look at our double. This one's all double crochet. And so having this here makes it a little easier to see the rows because I have these holes in my, so you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so let's put that aside and see if we can count that again. They look a little bit different, this row versus that row. You can see because we turned, this is kind of canting a little bit to the right and this a little bit to the left. So we would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, sorry, 9, 10. Okay, same number there. And you can use, again, the holes in the fabric naturally to help you. See the hole there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 holes in the fabric, 10 rows or a double crochet. So really, you can see every other row has the little V. Okay, so you know that's 2 rows from there to there, and 2 rows to there. There are more stitch counting and row counting exercises in the workbook that I've given you pictures, and you can count them and see if your counts are accurate on there. So row counting, it's not as hard as it looks.
Okay, I hope these tips were helpful for how to count your rows so that next time when you're working on a project, like I often do, and you kind of lose track, because let's face it, finger counters and things like that are pretty bulky, so I don't usually use that. And when I'm designing something, especially if it involves shaping, I'll try to keep a tally of how many rows I've done. And sometimes I'm not always the best at writing that down either, like say when watching Netflix. So you can go back and count them with the methods that I've shown you, some of the tips and tricks. Now, to really get good at counting, the best thing you can do is just practice making small swatches of different sizes so that you know exactly how many stitches and rows that you have. So let's say you just do single crochet for 5 stitches and 5 rows. Go back, look at it, you get a really good feel for what a single crochet looks like, because you know for sure how many stitches and rows you made. Another good exercise for rows is to crochet a little sample swatch, different stitch patterns. You can do a single crochet, half double crochet, and a double crochet, and any other stitch patterns you might like, each row being a different color. That way, when you look at it, you clearly can see how the stitches work together and what they look like from one side versus the other. So that's what I would like for you to do. This would be your exercise for the counting stitches and rows lessons. If you're not familiar, I'm telling you, this really will help you to see how the stitches and rows work together and how the stitches are made. So we'll see you tomorrow for our next lesson.